How are you guys doing? This is Ryan. Welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, I want to expand on what I was talking about last week, kind of how America is not a capitalist society, but probably more of a corporatist society. And I think I missed a tone I was really trying to hit in that video. And what I mean by that is the title of this video, that the system really is the system of socialism for the rich and inflation for the poor. So what do I mean when I say socialism for the rich and inflation for the poor? So we have, and how does Bitcoin Cash fix this? It's in the title as well, because it's really why you need hard, sound money and fair play for everyone, not just certain elites that get socialism, and no one should get socialism, at least in a coercive way, unless you're able to accomplish socialism in a voluntary way. So let's take, for example, the Silicon Valley Bank that failed a few months ago out there, and they got a bailout. They ran a bad business, they went out of business, and they got a socialist bailout. And think about what that does to the market on multiple levels. First of all, it creates a moral hazard in markets when you cannot fail. So your risk profile and what you do is going to certainly be a lot more. Like, I know if I go bankrupt, I just get more money. I think about what that does to what is a free market? A free market, no, we measure risk. We want to make sure we don't go out of business. And you create a safer market to play in, and where you don't do as risky of things with people's money like a bank may do, or any other business, for example. So first of all, that's the moral hazard. Second of all, when this is done at scale like it is, you get high inflation. You create more excess capital that does not exist. You don't actually have this money that you're giving to these businesses, for example, Silicon Valley Bank. So you take new printed currency and you give it to them. And what that does to the poor people, or anyone really, it lowers our purchasing power. They're taking our purchasing power by inflating the currency. So you have more dollars chasing the same amount of resources, making us have to pay more money for those resources. That's how inflation works. So that there's a special corporatist socialist game that lives. And that's why I really said we are a corporatist society, not a capitalist society. This is not capitalism at all. This is a very, very different thing from capitalism. This is what corporatism really looks like. Socialism for the rich. And let's talk about inflation for the poor and how that plays into what will probably eventually become a socialist country. That this inflation creates things to get more expensive. And if I am not if I don't have anything to fight off the inflation with, like something of commoditized value, like a house, or like Bitcoin Cash, or anything else that's a hard, like gold, if I don't stocks, if I don't have anything that's able to combat the inflation, I get very poor. I get extremely poor, and I can't afford to participate in the corporatist system, because I have nothing to fight myself with the inflation that they're doing to bail each other out. And then so I get pissed off. And what I want to do is want to have access to these resources that I thought was the American dream. But is it really an American dream anymore? No. So you start to think things should be rights. And it gets confusing, because in a capitalist system, more people can participate and have access to these resources. But so in the corporatist system that we're in, it's like, I can never afford a house now. I can't. Why is gas so expensive? Why is everything? At the end of the month, I have nothing left over. You know, how come I can't get medical care? You know, these things need to be rights. I need to have them as rights because I can't afford them. This is a decay of a system. This is a major failure of the system, and that's why people need to understand this is not capitalism. Capitalism will provide you all these things at very cheap prices, and but corporatism fails to do that. It makes things very expensive, and it creates the division between the upper and lower class. And that's why I said in the last week's video, something's going to break. You know, socialism seems so appealing, but if you just revert it back to real capitalism, real capital formation, and it can be done through things like Bitcoin Cash, and that's why, you know, I'm so interested in it, because it's actually a real tool to improve fair play. And and stop corruption and end corporatism, and to bring real capitalism formation into markets. So I think I missed on this tone in last week's video. I hit on other things, but it's really important. It's really important to understand the difference. When capitalists they lose the ear of people when they say that they go after the welfare state, for example, because to unravel it's wrong. The welfare system is wrong. You don't start making the world better by just taking away like child health care, right? This is going to be, it's hard to get back to a more sense of freer capital formation. And I think you could first start with things like the military-industrial complex and stop the wars, where that's a lot of inflation, a lot of corporatism, a lot of creating of wars, and a lot of death and destruction. And or Bitcoin Cash. That was one of my big interests that got me into economics in general, was that I was just generally not down with the war in Iraq. Didn't make sense. That was obviously a fraud. But how do you make this an appealing message to people that think it's capitalism that's keeping them poor? You literally have people that think capitalism is evil, but it's it's the best system we've ever created to create an abundance of wealth where people can own their own home and own their own property and build up generational wealth. And then they really believe that this strong authoritarians are going to come in and hand on these resources and make their lives better. Sorry, my dog pulled me. But when you got nothing, man, it's super, super appealing. So that's why I make these videos. It's the conversation's missing. You have public education teaching absolute crap to people. They don't understand these concepts at all. Public education is a socialist system, so of course it's going to act to protect itself, and the people that are in charge of it don't want to lose their power. They should end public education, really. I mean, that's probably, I would say end the military-industrial complex and then get rid of public education and give people back their property taxes so they can reinvest that, or get vouchers, or at least you can maybe use the public education system, but create system of reward. If hey, this school is very good, I can use my vouchers here, and allow them to make money, and the money will tell them if they're doing a good job or not, and let the bad schools not make much money, and so that they go away. So we have good schools, good education. But this system is just going to act to protect itself and pretend that socialism is a good thing. And when I say socialism, I do mean coercive socialism. So in a real capitalist society, you can be a socialist, but you can't use force. So if you want to voluntarily come together and create some system of sharing resources, you can do that. In a social system, you cannot be a free capitalist. You must allow them to take your resources, or they will throw you in a cage. What a great system. But when you focus on that, you're going to lose ears, because there really is this nasty game. There's this nasty game of corporatism for the rich, or socialism for the rich. And it plays into things like the COVID vaccine. We talked a lot about Robert F. Kennedy. That was clearly a way to coerce the system to make these large corporations make a shit ton of money. And then they even went further and just censored people that had any question towards it. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You can't question things. That's how powerful the corporations are, the pharmaceutical companies. They will run you over. So it's a small voice here on a small channel, but the message needs to spread that real capitalism is the answer. You live in a corporatist society that has corporations in charge, and gaming outcomes, whether it's a military-industrial complex, whether it's the pharmaceutical companies, whether it's just the Federal Reserve and the dollar in general. Crypto can save us, so try to use crypto daily in your lives, and it'll bring the power back to us. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next one.